Welcome back, everyone. I loved hearing all that chatting and discussions, just hearing all that positive noise. It's always great. I hope you had some coffee, had great conversations. We're ready to continue our morning sessions. We have two highly experienced speakers coming up, and our next presenter has led significant composable architecture shifts, including at Specsavers. So, please welcome Glen Leakey to the stage to talk about keys to success in composable transformation.
Thank you. So, hi, I'm Glen Leakey. I'm going to talk a bit about digital transformation as a whole, and then I'm going to focus in on composable. But let me start with, so if anyone's wondering what the picture is, this is the Dyson Cafe. So with a lightning jet on the ceiling. So I'm going to talk a lot about Dyson and Specsavers because that's where most of my career has been. So let me start with a little bit about me because I'm going to give you some context here that will build onto the rest of the slides. So I thought I'd just, rather than talk about me specifically, I'd give you the context about what I've done during my career. I joined Dyson in 1994, so I'm definitely old enough to know Roxette. So I joined Dyson when there were 60 people. I was interviewed in James Dyson's house, and they were first selling the wacky bagless vacuum cleaner. That was the start of the whole journey. And I left 24 and a half years later when they were selling about 4 billion and trading in 50 countries. So I lived through the whole of that growth journey, and it was an incredibly exciting and transformational point for Dyson and for my career. I've done anything from 4 different ERP systems to leading the platforms build and architecture team to becoming IT director. And I mentioned at a point around 2015, what started as a conversation with a VP of marketing of we need a better mobile website. More people are visiting our website from mobile than desktop. I'd inherited a site core platform that was in the marketing team that wasn't performant. Teams largely broke it whenever they made change. And it started as we need a better mobile website. And about 2 months later, we jointly pitched to the board that we needed a digital transformation of a size and scale we'd not done before. The high street was changing. Many of the retailers that we'd grown with were disappearing. People were buying more direct, and we needed to pivot from being a business-to-business organization, selling pallets into retailers, to become a direct-to-consumer organization, owning that customer experience and selling individually to customers. So that was the journey we'd pitched. I led that transformation, and that wholesale changed every piece of website technology from this aging monolith that was Sitecore into not a Mac solution at that point. So it was SAP Hybris and Adobe Commerce. This is 2015. Adobe Cloud. And it took an organisation from £50 million to £1 billion direct in 2.5 years, and took them from an organisation that had no real capability to trade online to experience across multiple markets to transform themselves and become a direct-to-consumer organisation. So that wasn't composable, but that was a direct-to-consumer transformation. I then left, and in late 2018, I joined Specsavers, a brand that I'm sure you all know from this region. And I led the digital team, and I was responsible for the existing website technology, but also a major transformation program that was known internally as the Customer Experience Program. And that was, how do we transform an aging Java-based practice management system in store that had been tried to be replaced multiple times and failed, an aging set of Drupal technology online that combined with this ugly monolith that were incredibly difficult to maintain. We couldn't make changes quickly. It was complex, it often broke, and the organisation had tried a couple of times to change it and not succeeded. So my role was to lead them through that transformation, and I'm going to talk a lot about Specsavers and a little bit about Dyson as we go through today. I then have done 3 short contracts, so I moved from what I describe as entrepreneurial, fast-paced, limited governance, want to get shit done organizations, which was Dyson and Specsavers, to the very old, very governed 150,000 employee organization of Royal Mail. And I led their platforms build and architecture team. They ship 1 million parcels a day in the UK, so huge business. So I led that team on a contract. I then moved to British Heart Foundation, a charity in the UK, and that was all around implementing a CDP and campaign technology to ultimately drive more fundraising income. And I'm now in a very different environment, which is the bottom right you'll see, working for a 100-person SME close to home that specialise in clean rooms for pharmaceutical, in cold rooms for food businesses. And I'm trying to take them on a journey of transforming their organisation and transforming their technology. But it's a very different organisation for me to be in. So that's a bit my background, but I'm going to largely talk about the Dyson and Specsavers journey. And I'm going to start with what I call keys to success in digital transformation. So this, I feel, is important, whether it's composable or not, but certainly very relevant for anybody moving on a composable journey. Number one is start with why. Quick show of hands. Anyone know the book Simon Sinek, Start With Why? I'm a big fan of this. You've got to have a real clear why before you go on a journey that is making the level of transformation that digital transformation will drive for, or composable will. So have a clear reason to move away from today and a clear reason to communicate, to move towards tomorrow, and have everybody get behind your why. If you can't have a clear why, and you can't have everyone understand it and get behind it, you're going to be struggling from day one. So, Miro, you did a great job of explaining your why in your organisation. So, always get clear on your why. Two, and you also mentioned this, the importance of exec buy-in. I wonder how many of these. I've got 10, you had 7, but let's see how many of them are overlapping. So the importance of exec buy-in. If I go to Dyson and Specsavers, at Dyson I had a very tech-savvy CEO, but I was very clear with him that we needed to change and transform as an organisation. I wanted him to be really active in talking about what we're doing when they were doing the town hall events and communication. He would come up to where we were delivering the transformation program in London and get to see the team, meet the team. We demoed to him personally as CEO. So it's really important that the board were behind what we're doing. 3, a relentless focus on customer. So having the customer at the heart of everything you do, having frictionless customer journeys, having the right convenience, having the right payment methods, whatever it was going to mean. People would buy from you rather than somebody else. And have really great engaging content. 4, having the right environment for success. That means the right ways of working, what I call right-sized governance. If you're making a transformation program and a composable one, it's no good running it as a really heavily governed waterfall-esque program. It's got to have what I call right-sized governance. And also the right physical environment. So we're in a post-COVID era now, but people having the right physical environment, having the right if they can put things on walls, if they can interact electronically via Teams, Slack, whatever it may well be, but the right environment is also really important. 5, and I'm going to touch on this today a lot, the importance of partnership. The one thing you will never hear me say is supplier. You have to go into one of these kind of transformation programs with partners. You have to have the right commercial and contractual construct. You have to have the right ways of working where you're seen as one team as a partner. So this can also mean getting procurement teams on board. So if you're going into this with let's set something up we've not done before as a fixed price contract, that's probably not going to give you the outcomes you need. So partnership is really critical. 6, and I'm passionate about this one, create people capability as well as technology. So whilst you're going on a transformation program, it's really important that you create the right people capability. You have a people-focused work stream as part of your change agenda. And I'm a really big advocate of, I use the same 3 words all the time. I hire for drive, for intellect, and for attitude. You can give people experience. If you have somebody with the right experience who doesn't have those 3 points, and they're maybe less willing to change, less open to trial and experiment, those kind of people are not going to succeed as well for you. 7, pace over perfection is something else I'm really focused on. So you've got to go into a test and learn mindset. You've got to get to an MVP, and you've got to learn and iterate. If you want to go on a journey where you understand everything in advance, you know your timeline in advance, and you have certainty, you're going very waterfall, and you still won't know until you actually do the work. So pace over perfection, I think, is really key. 8, and I see many organizations have stumbled on this one, is don't try and replicate what you've got today on new technology. You've got to go into it with a mindset. How do I standardize? How do I simplify? And if I think across the 2 organizations I've worked in of the larger scale at Dyson and Specsavers, that's meant across multiple markets as well. So you've got to try as much as possible to create a global template. You've got to have localization where there's good value to have localization, be that legislative, be that good things for customers, or things that are really genuinely driving benefit in region. But you've got to face into some difficult conversations if there has been an environment where regions have been able to do their own thing, and it's because I've always done it this way, as opposed to it's got a genuine reason for it to be different in a particular market. So standardize and simplify as much as possible. 9, build, demo, iterate. So make sure you're going into this with a mindset of breaking down your delivery into component parts, getting it into the hands of the users as quickly as possible. Those users could be your key stakeholders in your individual teams, or they could be that you're doing proper user testing and getting external feedback as you go through that journey. And 10, and this is one I've had a lot with boards, is don't treat it as a project with an end date. When you're going into the kind of a transformation that I'm describing, and you have a peak of investment needed, you get a question of, so when's it going to finish? And the answer is it won't. So you need to move from a period of it being perceived as project to a product model, and ensuring that you've got the ability for continually funded teams and continued enhancements. And the thing I always drove home is, and we don't want to be doing this again in 3 or 4 years' time, because we've not invested in the thing we spent so much time and effort delivering. So there, for me, bigger picture digital transformation. I'm now going to focus more on Specsavers on the composable journey. So firstly, when I talk to people about Specsavers, most don't realize how global they are and how big they are. So they're about 40 years old, founded by Doug and Mary Perkins. One store in Bristol is where they started. I live in Bristol, so it's good and meaningful for me. But they're now 40 years old. They're selling in 12 countries. They've got about 3,000 stores. They're around 3.5 billion turnover, and they're nearly 40,000 employees. And whenever I talk to people like Specsavers, people don't realize how big they are. And they're in 5 markets in Nordics, which I'm sure many of you are aware of. So all about changing lives through better sight and hearing. So privately owned company, they often only really talk about the customer, only really talk about healthcare, and only really talk about changing lives through better sight and hearing. In the 5 years I was there, never did I know how much profit we made. I knew the turnover roughly, but they never talked about profit, because Doug and Mary, who owned the business, it was all about the customer. It was all about providing better care for our customers. So profit, nobody really knew unless you were in finance, which I think said an awful lot about the organisation. So the transformation program we're working on. I'm going to start focus on the website part of it. So it was going omni-channel, but the website itself had 3 component parts. The first is what we called find and book. So find a store and book an appointment. And what I learned quickly when I joined the organisation is when people were talking about conversion, they weren't really focused on e-commerce conversion initially. They were focused on find and book conversion. How do I get from somebody saying, I need an eye test, to booking it online, converting and getting footfall into stores? So the big conversion conversation was all about seamless customer journey to book an appointment. Because today, the method of having an eye test is very much an in-person event, and it will be less so in future, where technology is coming such that you can have an eye test on a phone or a tablet, and that technology is going to come and disrupt. And that was part of why we were doing this composable journey, because we knew that was coming. So 10 million appointments a year is roughly what we had, and about half of those were booked online. So the online customer journey for Find a Book was really critical. Then we had e-commerce, and we were selling glasses and contact lenses online, but not at huge volume, but knew that we wanted to and knew that the disruption that was coming meant we needed to be able to sell more online. And the third was around content, browse and search, so enabling us to be able to represent our brand well and show our product catalogue such that you could look at a particular style of frame and then go through the journey of ultimately moving into e-commerce. And why did we go composable? We wanted speed of market to market. We wanted scalability. We wanted flexibility. We wanted great customer experience. And we wanted to make it as future-proof as possible. I never liked the term future-proof, but it was one the organisation liked to use. So that was our why of going composable. We had this aging solution in a heavily customised Drupal setup to date. We were moving towards a future state that we could make it omni-channel. So what did we do? We moved a from and a to. So we moved from a very monolith platform that was intertwined, very little separation of business logic to business functionality to technology. We moved towards a composable architecture with a clear separation of a front end and back end and with strong API layer. We moved from something that was very slow to deliver change on into proper CI/CD, regular daily releases where we needed to, a release cadence that enabled us to deliver value quickly and test and learn and iterate. We also moved from what was effectively a series of delivery programs that often focused on delivering business functionality, business value, to moving towards a product mindset where we had to deliver functional and technical change to ensure the thing we were building was going to continue to be performant, stable, secure, and all the things that are important as you go through transformation. We selected, these were selected in about 2019, 2020. So you might have seen some of the names around the room, probably would be on here had we go through the same journey now. So we had commerce tools for e-com, we had Contentful for CMS, Algolia for browse and search, Stebo for PIM, ForgeRack for customer identity, a custom build for Find and Book, Enactor for point of sale in store, and it was sat on Azure as a technical platform. So that means joining together a lot of different solutions into a proper composable solution and breaking down the monolith that we had to start with. We then made sure we selected people that had demonstrable experience in delivering composable solutions. So on the left, BJSS were our incumbent. They knew the existing platform that we had in Drupal. They had a very strong software engineering background. So if it was custom build and it was really good engineering capability, they were excellent at it. What they didn't have was the MACH solution experience. So we had them manage the legacy. They also custom built the Find a Book solution, and they had really strong what we call platform and shared services teams that were working out how we build the code through the right code deployments, through CI/CD. They were really, really hot on that. We then selected EPAM for e-commerce. We had Valtech for content, browse and search, and we had what we called the digital services platform with Accenture. That's the bit that connected our modern into our legacy, be it back office or otherwise. We then had PIM directly with Stebo and point of sale directly with Enactor and Wunderman Thompson, or WPP as they are today, for creative and UX. So we very specifically went out for people with demonstrable experience of delivering Mac technologies. We also then, this is quite a complex slide, but when Mika and I were talking through this, he thought it might be useful for me to add. So you've got to build teams that can work in a model where multiple partners and multiple pieces of technology are being delivered on your journey. And this was my attempt at trying to show it on a single slide. So we were having to build capability in what was largely a marketing and a technology team that were going across all the pillars really being product teams. On the right, you had largely the legacy platforms that were continuing to do minor change where there was really meaningful value to deliver it, while we did the transformation, which was the left-hand pillars. So you had product teams, squads, Find a Book, e-com, CMS, browse and search, and we were just starting at MarTech with CDP. And they were teams that were cross-functional teams that had the right skills and capabilities and had to work in a consistent way. So ways of working was really important as we moved to a multi-product and multi-partner model. And I'll touch on that a little more with my next couple of slides. So I'll then move on to ways of working. So we had to educate our board around how we're going to cost and budget for this. So we moved to a model of a fixed capacity per product per year. So we set our budget annually and we set our team capacity annually. And we knew that we were going to work very much with a product owner focused and a product owner led. What's my business value framework? How am I going to demonstrate the value I'm delivering through Find and Book in this financial year? We had some ability to tweak capacity and spend between teams during the year, but we started with a view that said, we're going to spend this much on Find and Book, this much on e-commerce, this much on content, browse and search in a year, and we're going to demonstrate value iteratively, and we're going to update you frequently. But we're not going to go into this with a waterfall plan on a page that tells you everything we're going to do 9 to 12 months in advance. We're going to give you very much a product mindset and product approach. Then in terms of planning, we introduced an approach of now, next, later. So now gave us 0 to 3 months. We were able to really clearly explain what we're delivering now and show how we're delivering it and when we're delivering it. We knew what we're going to do next in the 3 to 6 months. And we were starting to forward plan doing that. Everything else was in a backlog and later. So if something was in later and somebody said, when am I going to deliver it? We don't know. We're going to focus on an agile way of working here. If you want us to give you an indicative, we'll give you a finger in the air, but it only if you think the later is going to become ultimately the next and the now in due course. We're often... I'll go to the bottom box. We were having to work with very much a digital team transforming ways of working into composable, working with a more waterfall rest of technology team who had their plans on a page 9 to 12 months in advance and wanted to know when we were going to do our things 12 months in advance. And we had to work out what's the right way of having a more... you maybe have this situation where you've got two ways of working between technology teams. And when you've got that, you've got to have a clear view of how a multimodal way of working is going to work. So a digital team giving you a now, next, later approach and a more traditional technology team doing a waterfall has to find some blend of how you communicate the dates between those two teams. But we worked very much on what we called launch windows rather than fixed dates. So we started going, we've got this change, and it's going to be between date A and date B. We're going to give you it maybe 2 months in advance. It's somewhere in this 3-week window, based on either when the business wants to launch that functionality and when we're ready to launch it. And the closer we got towards it, we then fixed a date. But what we tried to avoid is fixing a date 3, 4, 5 months in advance and perceiving if you miss the date, you failed. So you're often going into these changes with plenty of ambiguity. So fixing a date without certainty is difficult to do. So we went on this approach of now, next, later, and we took launch windows, not fixed dates. Third, governance. I'm always keen on the term I phrase, right-sized governance. So if you're going to work in an agile way and you're going to properly transform, having really fixed, rigid governance, I always try to move that fixed governance and waterfall out the way and make it work in what I call right-sized governance. So you need to have an element of empowering your teams. They need to be able to test and learn, but you need to have some level of governance over them that ensures you're going in the right direction and you're clear on what you're delivering. We managed a bi-weekly portfolio meeting that we looked across all of the work streams, and we updated the digital board every 8 weeks. So we came to them with what we had delivered. We had demonstrable evidence of the changes we'd made and what it meant to our business metrics. So we were able to say, we made this change in Find and Book, and we show you a before and after graph of conversion of appointment booking, and that thing we did gave us this value. This value equates into this commercial value. So we were very much working on a position of building trust over time, iteratively delivering, and ensuring we demonstrated value to our board. And that meant that we were able to continue to get investment. and confidence that we were not going to come up with a major program that they weren't going to see anything for maybe 2 years. And then team. It was really important for us to have a one-team mentality. Across vendors and across departments, it's like all badges left, we're all in this together. We had very frequent retrospectives. We had really clear elements of learning that we had, and then we made it clear that when we made retrospectives and learning, and we had to change, let's hold ourselves to account to act on the things we said we would change and improve. And it was very much a continuous improvement approach. And then finally, my recommendations on a composable transformation. So firstly, approach. When you go into one of these kind of programs, you're going to go through a selection process, be it for technology or be it for partners, and there might be some RFP or some form of selection. When you're going into that approach, see if you can do a proof of concept and demonstrate that the thing you're going to buy is going to work for your organization. And it also enables you to test the partners that you're working with, be they the software partners, or be they the implementation partner you're working with. You really get a feel for what the organization is like, and you can test whether the thing you're buying is really going to work. Always try and approach it in a multi-phased approach. So start small, scale fast, and always try and focus on a fail fast and learn. You're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to learn from it. What you want to do is fail quickly, and you want to learn quickly, not have a slow, low, painful, expensive fail. Second, partners. We really focused on selecting partners with strong composable experience. And with it, it was not just logos on a page, but talk me through really what you've delivered. Help me really understand the case studies, and help me really understand the outcomes you've achieved. And probably if I look back now to, you saw some big names that we had worked with, I probably would have gone for smaller partners than some of the bigger names that you've seen. So the likes of Iona, some of the smaller partners have got real depth of experience and have been through some of the pain of delivering composable, and probably some of the larger organizations will give you some good case studies, but often the smaller organizations have got real demonstrable experience in this area. You also want somebody who's got the proper technology platforms experience, so show me a case study, show me you've delivered the technology that I'm implementing. And I'm a real fan of measuring outcomes. So often I would get asked the question like, how many story points per sprint is being delivered, and have you delivered the number of story points you've delivered? Well, we all know that story points can be gamed, and therefore if you've delivered a number of points per sprint, but you haven't delivered the business outcome that delivers business value, that's not the right thing to track. So focus on measuring outcomes with our partners and have it where both the partner and us as a customer are winning in the outcomes. 3, technology. As you go into a composable approach, you really need to have strong engineering and design teams. You're going to get into some conversations of what do I buy versus what do I build. And we were quite early on the journey of composable, but you're often seeing many accelerators now. So try and leverage accelerators with your use cases you've got in your organization, and see if you can find ways of learning and taking benefit from what other people have done previously. And then finally, people. So very much work on a product mindset, not a project mindset. Invest in training and ways of working, because a composable journey is going to really change the way you work. So make sure you've got a people work stream, and make sure you're really properly investing in people and training and ways of working. And finally, exec alignment and support is really important. Muriel, you touched on this in yours. So continually talking to your board and updating them on progress, and demonstrating value, but managing expectations in advance that going on a composable approach is not necessarily going to give you immediate value. It's going to be, depending if you the kind of scale of organizations I've worked for, it's going to take time. And we want you to be on that journey with us, and we'll demonstrate value by having you see demos, by having you work with us closely, and not being afraid, as I did in both Dyson and Specsavers, of putting the first MVP you've got in the hands of a CEO and managing expectations. We've done no content yet, therefore it's going to look terrible, but we'll show you. When we said to you the first thing we're doing is building a basket and paying via a credit card, we'll show you it's working, And then we'll show you when we've got maybe different payment types set up, but we'll not be afraid to show you something that looks terrible, but shows you something that is functionally working and saying play with it. So building that exec alignment and support is really key along the way. And that's me. So thank you very much. I'll open for any questions.
Thank you, Glenn. That was really interesting and really practical, which is something I love. Any questions or comments from the audience? Because I had one thing in mind, a really quick question. You specifically mentioned a couple of times this product, not project mindset. What would be one single most important action that you would recommend that the organization take when shifting to that product mindset?
So being clear what your products are and being clear what business value they're delivering and having somebody own the product and being accountable for the value that they're delivering, working with a technology team, I think is a really important thing to start with. So there's many conversations of should product teams sit in technology or outside of technology. I was always of the view they should partner with technology, but they should be close to, in the business function that's got the outcome that is being marketing or otherwise. So close to the customer, close to the business outcome was really important. And I wanted them partnering with technology. But having them accountable for the outcomes and close to the relevant business function that's got the goal, the KPI that is being delivered was for me really important.
Yeah, thank you. Well, if there is... Oh, there is. Good.
Yes, thank you for the nice experiences on this transformation journey. Just elaborating a similar question than we already had. So how about the practical tips on how to get the different ways of working together? Because we have definitely those monoliths and you have to have the year before all the timetables and launches already planned, but then we want to do the composable stuff exactly like you explained, that having really small increments and we don't know what happens like after 6 months and so on.
Yeah.
So what would be the practical tip how to get those different working methods together?
So I think it's a case of you've got to win hearts and minds and you've got to demonstrate it. So my advice would be try to pick something small that you can demonstrate the ways of working and value, and that demonstrate by working in this way you can deliver more value quickly. You've got to break down this monolith into something that's a smaller bite-sized chunks of delivery. And can you find something within your organization and within your ambitions that says, I'm going to demonstrate this way of working is better. And we tried to pick something as we went on this journey of, is there anything in our wider transformation that we think is achievable relatively quickly as a quick win, and can we demonstrate it in the new journey? So, an example, we picked identity and access management. The IDAM was the first thing we implemented, and we integrated it into our legacy platform. But we demonstrated part of our new technology is going to deliver quickly, and we showed value from it, and we showed value from ways of working to deliver it quickly. So it's just trying to identify something like that that you feel can bring people on the journey with you. And maybe it's one for some of the partners you're working with to see if they can look at your problem statement today and try and identify something that's smaller, quicker, simpler, demonstrate value.
Yeah, which you can actually get from the monolith development team like early in the year in so.
Yeah. And you want to get it in the hands of your customer, your internal customer, your board, whoever it will be, and show this way of working is going to give you more value quickly.
Okay, thank you.